In the year 270, the greatest empire in history was dying. It had split into three. A plague was killing thousands every day. Barbarians poured across every border. Rome had less than a decade left, and everyone could feel it. And then one man, born a peasant, took the throne and did the impossible. In just 5 years, with his own hands, he put the entire empire back together. His name was Aurelian, and almost no one remembers him. By the end of this video, you'll understand why his story is the most important leadership lesson the modern world forgot. Because this isn't just ancient history. What Aurelian faced, total collapse, chaos on every side, a system everyone had already given up on, is the exact situation every leader, every founder, every person rebuilding their life eventually faces. And what he did about it is a blueprint. To understand how impossible his task was, you have to see the world he inherited. Historians call it the crisis of the 3rd century. In just 50 years, Rome burned through 26 emperors, most of them murdered within months of taking power. The empire had fractured into 3 pieces: a breakaway Gallic empire in the west, a powerful Palmyrene empire in the east, ruled by the brilliant queen Zenobia. The currency had collapsed into worthless metal. A plague swept the cities, and barbarian armies crossed the borders almost at will. This was not a difficult year for Rome. It was by every measure the end. Aurelian came from nothing. A common soldier from the Balkans who rose through the ranks on pure discipline and competence, earning a brutal nickname, Hand on Hilt. When the throne came to him, he did not panic, and he did not try to fix everything at once. He did something most people in crisis cannot do. He focused. First, he secured the core of the empire, crushing the Goths and the Vandals who threatened Italy itself. Then, and only then, did he turn to reclaim the lost halves, one at a time, in the right order. That is the first lesson buried in his story. In chaos, the winner is almost never the one who does the most. It is the one who understands the order things must be done in. But reuniting an empire took something far harder than winning battles. Here is the part that makes Aurelian different from nearly every conqueror before him. Most men who seize that much power are eventually destroyed by it. Aurelian understood something they didn't. And it is the same thing that decides whether your own success will build you or break you. He marched east against Zenobia and her Palmyrene empire. It was a campaign of brilliant strategy, and he won. But the real lesson is in what he did after the victory. He defeated the queen who had torn the empire in half, and he spared her life. No execution in rage, no cruelty for the sake of fear. Then he turned west and reabsorbed the Gallic Empire, often without even having to fight, because his reputation alone was enough. In just 5 years, East and West were one again. But he did not stop at conquest. He reformed the broken currency. He secured the grain that fed the people. He built a massive wall around Rome itself that would protect the city for centuries. The Senate gave him a title no one had earned before, Restitutor Orbis, the restorer of the world. Because that is exactly what he had done. He did not rule by cruelty. He rebuilt. He showed restraint when he held every reason for revenge. And that is the deeper lesson. Success that lasts is never built on winning alone. It is built on what you restore and on the discipline to stop yourself when you finally have the power to do anything you want. And then, at the very peak, with the entire world restored under a single banner, Aurelian was destroyed. Not by an army, not by an enemy, by a single lie. And the way it happened is the most important warning in this whole story. In the year 275, marching east once more, his personal secretary was caught in a small lie. Terrified of punishment, the man did something desperate. He forged a document, a fake list of officers that Aurelian supposedly planned to execute. He showed it in secret to those very officers, and they believed it. In a moment of fear, the men closest to him, the men he had led to victory after victory, murdered the greatest emperor in generations. When they discovered the truth, that the entire list was a forgery, that they had been manipulated by a frightened clerk, they were horrified. The man who had stitched the world back together was gone. killed over a piece of paper in a moment of unmanaged fear. And that is where his story leaves us with something the Stoics taught long before. You can control your effort, your discipline, your character, the order in which you rebuild, but you cannot control the chaos of the world or the fear inside other people. Aurelian could conquer 3 empires and could not survive 1 lie, and still build anyway, because here is what they could not take. The empire he saved did not fall. His reforms held. The walls he built stood. Rome survived another 200 years because for 5 impossible years, one disciplined man from nothing refused to accept that the world had to end. He restored an empire, and history almost forgot his name. This channel carries that name for a reason. If you want the lessons history buried, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.